We have 5 Rambo movies from First Blood to Last Blood, so let's rank them. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one today. I'm the movie ranker, and today I'm ranking all 5 Rambo movies from worst to best. This should be fun. I always have fun going through this franchise. It's one I've watched many times over the years. But before I get into it, make sure you drop your rankings down in the comments section. We'll have a great discussion. And also make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy rankings like this. And without wasting any more time, let's dive in. So for me, coming in the last place at number 5, I have to go with Rambo 3. And this one was always my least favorite. It just doesn't do a whole lot for me. It has its moments of greatness. I especially like all the scenes where Rambo is trying to go in and rescue Troutman. I think those scenes are awesome. Got great action in there. I also love when he's cauterizing his wound with gunpowder, and that just looks friggin' awesome. And Stallone himself is jacked as hell in this film. I just find the movie does drag at times. Some of the action can be too over the top. Not so much in Troutman's rescue, but more in Rambo taking on these Russian soldiers, like jets coming at him. They can't seem to hit him, and we get this most ridiculous ending with him in a tank, Rambo in a tank, and the head Russian guy in a jet, and they're coming at each other. It's just so dumb. Just way too over the top and ridiculous for my taste. I mean, part 2 was cheesy and over the top, but not as much as this one in that jet versus tank scene. That was just a little too much for me. And I also just found the whole setting to be kind of bland in the desert. And yeah, this film just doesn't really work for me. It's a real mixed bag. Up next at number 4, I'm going with Rambo First Blood Part 2. Now, this is one people seem to really hate on a lot lately. It seemed to be pretty well received in the past, but as time goes on, I don't know, a lot of people have this at the bottom of their list. Unfortunately, it's my number 4, but I still have a ton of fun with it. The quality for me personally from Part 3 and Part 2 are really far apart here. I like this one a lot better than Part 3. But yeah, it's a fun time. They send Rambo back into Vietnam where shit went down before, and he's the best. He knows his way around there. I like the relationship he forms with the girl he meets who helps him out in Vietnam, kind of like his guide or whatever. She's great. I just find they kill her off a little too soon. Her and Rambo finally start to form this connection, this nice relationship, and bam, seconds later, she's dead. And yeah, I would have liked to see that fleshed out a little bit more. And yeah, this is Rambo taking out a ton of Vietnamese soldiers on his own, basically. He's a one-man army, and it's just so fun to watch, even though it can be a bit cheesy in the 80s respect, 80s action type way, but I absolutely love it. Our villain, or our head guy for the American side of things, who is kind of tricking Rambo into thinking he's actually gonna rescue people, where this guy just wants to send in Rambo and hopefully he fails. That guy, I can't remember his name, but the one up higher than Troutman, he is a weird guy. Like every scene he's in, he's always eating or eating chips or drinking Coca-Cola. Like very, I don't know if that was put in on purpose to show the American consumerism type thing, or was that just a random thing they wrote in the script. But either way, it just makes him seem really weird as one of our villains. He's a good guy, kind of secretly a villain, you find out in the third act. But yeah, just a ton of fun, this movie. I especially like when they have Rambo being tortured, being electrocuted up on the bed frame thing. It's just an awesome scene. A great movie with some cool action, and I have a ton of fun with it. Up next at number 3, I got Rambo Last Blood. Another movie that people seem to hate on a hell of a lot. If part 2 ain't in last place, then it's this one. And I really enjoy it. Yes, it does feel like a copy of the movie Taken, tweaked a little bit to have Rambo in there, but it works, man. It completely works. I like how this one feels completely different from everything else we've seen before. It's not your typical Rambo movie. Of course, like I said, it feels like Taken, but not just that, and just the way things play out. And I love how protective Rambo is, but at the same time he has to take a bunch of pills because he's older obviously, but he also has some trauma up there. He's still getting flashbacks randomly, so it doesn't take much to set him off. I feel like the movie gets incredibly emotional. Probably the second most emotional Rambo movie after the original, especially with what happens to his niece and that whole scene in the truck when they pull over and it's just him and his niece. It's heartbreaking and it really works on the emotional level. And of course, the whole final act where Rambo lures all these Mexican guys back to his place, to his ranch, and takes them out with all these booby traps is just friggin' awesome. Another great callback to the original, how he was setting up traps in the forest. Well, this time he's doing it on his own land, and it is brutal. Old Rambo is way more brutal than young Rambo. I mean, this and the fourth film both go far with the brutality. And yeah, you're seeing arms getting hacked off, heads being blown off with shotguns, and you get the awesome final scene with Rambo, taking out the last bad guy by hauling out his heart right in front of him. It's almost like a Mortal Kombat fatality. It's that cool. The ending to this is kind of bittersweet because he accomplished what he wanted to do, his mission, by taking out all these people who, did terrible things to his niece and all these other women in Mexico. So yeah, he gets that done, that side of things done, but he's also wounded and he lost everybody at this point basically. And it ends with him on the porch, and you figure he's probably going to die from his wounds, but it's not exactly the most satisfying way to end the Rambo franchise. I guess it kind of works because he's ending as a soldier, as I guess what he was always intended to be. But it's just unfortunate that part 4 Rambo had such a better ending, which I will be getting into shortly. But yeah, I just don't get the hate this movie has. It's a perfectly fine movie. It was in my number 2 place the last time I ranked this, but it's still very good at my number 3. Very strong entry. Up next at number 2, I'm going with Rambo from 2008. Now, Stallone did such a good job at, putting life into his old franchises around this time. In 2006, he came out with Rocky Balboa, which put that franchise back on the map, made it relevant again. And he did the same thing with this Rambo movie. And it just doesn't hold back, man. It is brutal. But it's not brutal just to be brutal. It has a point. It's because it's dealing with war and all the scenes that we see in Burma with these poor citizens, these poor villagers getting just tortured and blown up by bombs and shot up for no reason because of this army that's, producing drugs and on drugs themselves. It's a real thing. And if you look at movies like Saving Private Ryan, which is known to be one of the best army movies ever made, that didn't hold back in the brutality neither in its opening scene in Normandy. And I feel like that's almost needed in these war movies, right? To really get the point across on how brutal these things really are. And it's real. This actually happens. But yeah, I love Rambo. It's so funny that nobody in this movie really seems to know who the guy is. They keep just thinking he's this guy who can get them from point A to point B with his boat. He's the boat guy. It's kind of funny with the team that he brings in to help out these people with aid and stuff like that. They're working for the church. But it's even more funny when he's bringing in the mercenaries to go rescue these people. And the mercenaries are looking at him like, you're just the boat guy. You're useless. We're the tough guys. And it's like, the audience knows the difference. We've seen the other Rambo movies. So it's just a really good inside joke for the viewer, knowing what Stallone's character Rambo is capable of. And he proves that later in the film when he has to go and basically save the day. So yeah, we get great action. It's intense. It's brutal. The movie's shot really well. The way it ends, like I said earlier, is a really great way to end this franchise, where Rambo succeeds in his mission, and his personal mission really, and he finally gets to go home, and we get that great shot of him in his driveway with the ranch there, and he looks at the mailbox and it's R Rambo written on there. Just such a fitting ending. It's like the guy finally gets to go home, which, like I said, it's like kind of a little bit unfortunate that part 5 kind of undoes that a little bit. and ruins his happy ending. But yeah, this was the way to do it. But for me, easily coming in the first place, I have to give it to Rambo First Blood, the very first film. And this is not only the best movie in the Rambo franchise, but this is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's in my top 10 for sure, no doubt about it. It's just so good, and it's been that way since the first time I watched this as a small child. I watched this thinking I was just going to get another typical 80s action flick, something you can turn your brain off, but this is so much more. This is even more of a thriller than it is an action movie. It has great character moments. It's just so much more fleshed out than your regular action film. You get so much more out of it. Whether we're talking about the acting wise or the stunts, like everything is just so good in this film. For starters, I love its themes and its social commentary on these war heroes coming back home, coming back to America, and not being treated very well, especially during the Vietnam War. After that war, people came back and, ended up homeless half the time, these soldiers, which is so unfortunate. And it also shows you the dangers of going over there and, with the gases and that they were using. If you don't die from gunfire, it might kill you from the toxins, getting cancer and that over time, which unfortunately is what happened to some of the members on Rambo's team. So he ends up being the last one left on his team. He goes home, and what happens? He gets harassed by the local police department in this random town. Not his town, but he's kind of just passing through, and he getting harassed, and they don't want him there. They think he's just a bum, basically a drifter. And it's just so sad because, again, this happens in real life where these soldiers come back and don't get the respect that they deserved after serving their country and, basically providing freedom for their country. And it's just such an unfortunate thing. And on top of all that, this soldier and many other soldiers ended up with a lot of PTSD, a lot of trauma after the war. And we kind of see that in this movie as well. Rambo tries to turn it off, but once he gets poked at like a bear, the soldier comes back out. But, he's being easy on these police officers. He's not going for the kill. He's just wounding them, incapacitating them so they can't mess with them any longer. And I just love how you don't really know about Rambo and what he's capable of until later in the film. We kind of get a lot of backstory through Troutman, his commander, when he was in Vietnam, and he explains that we're not here to save Rambo. We're here to save you guys from Rambo. Like, I love all the dialogue he gives and just makes Rambo seem like such a badass. And he really is, but this really just elevates all that. I love all the little bits of comedy in here. There's not a lot, but there is some, just enough to break the tension, let you breathe a little bit, and they're placed in the perfect moments. One of them being when Rambo's in the mines, in the caves, and you got all like the militia or the reserve, the army reserve or whatever's there, telling them, you better come out or they're gonna shoot, It's just so funny because they have no idea who they're dealing with. And Stallone, man, he just really sells the performance for this role. I mean, his two best roles were Rocky and this movie, First Blood, because you feel like this is the character. Like, Stallone is this character. You don't see him as Sylvester Stallone. He really just sinks right into this role, and he's able to give off these emotional scenes and really sell it. Personally, I think this movie has his best emotional scene ever near the end when he just loses it. He tells Troutman about how his team's all dead and how, about how one of his buddies blew up and pieces of him went all over him. And it's hard to watch this and stay dry-eyed. There's always tears come to my eye watching this because it's the performance, man. He sells it. He's completely believable and genuine in the role. Like I said, just like he was in Rocky, but I think this time is just a tiny bit better, especially in that one scene near the end where he just breaks down and loses it. And man, it's hard to watch, but I love watching it at the same time because I'm like, that's why Stallone is the man. And what else is there to say about this masterpiece, 10 out of 10 film? I love when he's in the woods and he's doing all these booby traps and, slowing down the cops. I love how the head sheriff of this town or whatever really wants to get Rambo. He has like a mission to take him out and put him in prison or kill him. I think he's more into shooting him than to take him in alive. But yeah, that just makes for a really interesting story because, like I said, you know what Rambo's capable of, so you know it won't end well for this cop. And even all like the dirt bike scenes where they're hitting jumps and the cop cars chasing them looks phenomenal. To all the wood scenes, the atmosphere and the cinematography in the woods looks friggin' amazing. Everything about this film is top notch. There's zero negatives I could give, honestly. It's one of the best movies ever made, and it easily comes in the first place in this ranking. So there you have it, guys. There's my ranking of all 5 Rambo movies from worst to best. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to see your rankings down in the comment section. And you can also follow me on Letterboxd and Instagram. Links to those are always in the description of my video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back with more rankings very soon. And until next time, thanks for watching.